Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed Live from Los Angeles. I'm Jason McIntyre here with the Dream Team. Greg Jennings, Chris Broussard, LeVar Arrington. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
What up?
Great morning. Fantastic.
Good. Ready to go.
All good, brother.
Glad everybody's fired up. NBA playoffs are here. Let's get started. Despite ending the regular season on a 5-game winning streak, the Lakers will face the Warriors in the play-in tournament on Wednesday. Lakers fans had a brief scare last night when LeBron appeared to tweak his right ankle, slow to get up. But after the game, LeBron said he'll be fine. And when asked about facing Steph Curry in the playoffs, he said, quote, "We're playing versus, in my opinion, the MVP of our league this year in Steph. We got to be prepared for everything they have. They got championship DNA." So, Chris Broussard, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in LeBron's Lakers making it out of the West?
Well, before he went down with the little ankle tweak near the end of the game, I was a 7.5. Now I'm a 7.0. All right, so I clearly have the Lakers favored to win. And look, it's possible in a one-game situation that they even fall to Golden State. Maybe Steph Curry gets hot. Maybe the groin bothers AD or the ankle with LeBron, and they could lose that. But they would beat Memphis, San Antonio, whichever team they play then. And so I clearly think the Lakers will come out of the West or have a great shot at coming out of the West. I really think, and look, I know LeVar Arrington is about to sing the praises of the Utah Jazz. And congratulations, Jazz. You've had a nice regular season. But the only team in the Western Conference that can beat the Lakers in a 7-game series if AD and LeBron play are the Los Angeles Clippers. And even then, I've got the Lakers favorite. So I think they got a good chance. Here's the things I like. Yesterday, I thought LeBron looked great. I thought he looked much better than he did in the 2 games he played a couple weeks ago before he re-injured the ankle. He had explosion. He was up in the air. He was turned in the corner. I thought he looked great. I loved in the middle of the second quarter when he goes to the hole, gets fouled hard, lands on the ground. Now, usually when LeBron gets fouled hard, he falls and he takes his time to get up and, you know, you think it might be a season-ending injury or something. Yesterday, he popped back up immediately. And it was like he was sending a message to the rest of the league saying, yeah, playoff LeBron is in the house. So I love the attitude that he displays. Secondly, AD, I know yesterday only 14 points, but the last few games, he has shown signs of the old AD. Had 42 and 12, had 36 and 12, had some 3 blocks in one of the games. So AD is looking better. And then over these last 5 games when the Lakers have been winning, AD and Andre Drummond have actually played well together. They've been a +9 net rating on the floor together. And what I like about the Lakers that will give anybody in the West, and really even the league, problems, is their size. At the beginning of last night's game or yesterday's game, you saw early on LeBron went inside. He backed down into the post. He drove into the post. He made cuts for layups in the paint. And then AD took his turn. And he was in the post a little bit. And, of course, Andre Drummond at times. The Lakers' size, they have a formula that's going to be tough for anybody in the league and anybody in the West. And that is their size on the offensive end and then their stellar defense. So I like what the Lakers have, and I think they should be the favorites to come out of the West.
I'm with you there, Chris. I got them at about an 8.5. And it's simply because you never know what can happen with the injuries. Knowing the history of what this season has provided for the LA Lakers, it has been very up and down. We see AD constantly in and out of the lineup, constantly grabbing at something throughout the game. So that's my only concern, health. Barring they are healthy,
Oh, jeez.
I think that the Lakers win out of the West. They come out of the West simply because of something that you said. There's two things you mentioned, Chris: attitude and then their size. When we talk about attitude, you think about the greats. There's something that ticks on the inside of them come time of this season, which it's a completely different type of game. It's a completely different type of mentality. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you can't turn it on, you can't turn it off. Yeah, but you can when you're that great. And we've seen Tom Brady hit a switch and elevate everybody in that locker room, and then they went on to do something special this past year. And now we see LeBron having the same opportunity being awaited just this moment. It never was about the regular season. And when you get this deep in your career and you still have this type of talent that you can available to your team and to your personnel, like, you show up when it counts. And that's what LeBron is speaking of. Like, it doesn't matter who we got. It doesn't matter our seeding. Time is now. I'm going to be fine. Now, again, everyone's going to look at that ankle and try to test and make sure. But if they can run through LeBron, get AD involved early and often, and then again to the length, defensively, that's their calling card. If they can get stops, if they can defend and they can prevent, I'm going to just speak to the Clippers, because that's who I feel too, as you alluded to, Chris, is their biggest opponent. If they can stop and get those guys off of their game and get perimeter play from their backcourt, Dennis Schroeder, and then we talk about KCP, how he came up big last season, then they have a really, really good chance of repeating, in my opinion.
I'm going with a 6. Just above 500, not close enough to 100. I don't want to go up close to 10, and I don't want to live down at the 1. Listen, you want to qualify it and say LeVar is going to say the Utah Jazz? You're right, I'm going to say the Utah Jazz, because I am a believer in the Utah Jazz. And listen, here's the thing about the Lakers, right? I've determined and I've come to the conclusion, I'm not a Lakers hater, but what I am is a Laker. I am a Laker magnifying glass. I am a microscope, so to speak, and I've put it under. I put it on the Petri dish, or took it on, put it on the slide, put it under the magnifying glass, and you know what I see? This big word, if. We should call them the LA Ifers. You know why? Because I think I counted at least 20 ifs in both of y'all's statement about, and discussion point about the Los Angeles Lakers, the ifers. And the thing about it is, if we're going to continue to say, if LeBron is this, if AD is this, if the Lakers can do this, if Dennis Schroeder can stay away from protocols for COVID, if we have all of these things, if. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about ifs. And for me, when I look at what's going on here, I just want to look at one real fact that plays into the factors of why I look at the Utah Jazz and say they can do it. The Jazz versus teams over 500, they're 21-13. The Lakers versus teams over 500, they're 20-21. That's 42% versus 60%. When I look at what they're going to do in the playoffs, to sit there and say, okay, yes, LeBron James can play at a higher level, but so is everybody else. Yes, AD can play at a higher level, but so is everybody else. I am so tired of this bandwagon mentality that we have towards this LA Ifers team. And J-Mac, if I'm saying who's coming out of the West, it's not the Lakers that I have set as the first team. They're probably a 1A or a 2A if you're asking me. I think there's two other teams, several other teams that I would look at, including the Utah Jazz.
So if you're scoring at home, boys and girls, LeVar was at a 6. Chris Wishy-Washy Broussard was like a 7, 7.5. Greg Jennings a touch higher. I'll give you the real talk right here. The Lakers are the gambling favorites if you go out to the desert, and that's why they're a 9.5, yes, 9.5% chance the Lakers come out of the West. Chris, I cannot believe you and Greg Jennings continue to talk up these fraudulent paper clips. Do you know what happened to your Clippers in this final week of the season? They were so terrified of LeBron and AD. They were ducking them because they didn't want to see the Lakers in the second round, Chris. Seriously, the Clippers tanked against OKC and Houston, the two worst teams in the league, just so they wouldn't have to face the Lakers in the second round. LeVar, this isn't even about the first round. They wanted that 4 so they would face Utah, okay, in the second round, and then, oh, we'll face the Lakers in the conference finals if we have to. That's the confidence level of your Clippers that you guys think has a chance. This is all about LeBron and Anthony Davis. And what you've seen, LeVar, with this 20-21 record against teams over 500, hello, Anthony Davis missed 9 weeks. Okay, LeBron missed 26 of 28 games. Stop with that, okay?
It's the truth,
Lakers,
but
this
that's
is
the reality.
LeVar, this is what you need.
That's the reality.
Yeah, they missed a bunch of games. The Lakers, despite losing AD and LeBron, 2 top 10 guys in the league, for so long, were the #1 ranked defense in the NBA at the end of the season. And it's all about defense. In a year where offense has ruled the NBA, we're seeing some historic offensive efficiency throughout the NBA. What are the Lakers? #1 in defense. When the rest of the league zigs, we got to do offense. We got to shoot threes. Clippers led the league in three-point shooting. Who cares? It's all about defense. The Lakers will rule defensively. They will come out of the West without question.
First of all, J-Mac, I don't know what invisible Clippers fan you're yelling at. Greg and I picked the Lakers.
Like the Clippers.
All right, we just said the Clippers are a good team and they got a shot. That's it. Now, let me address LeVar.
Please do.
All right, the Los Angeles Ifers. Okay?
Ifers.
The fact is, and here's another reason I'm so confident in the Lakers, LeVar, is there are ifs for everybody out west.
That's
really,
very true.
everybody in the
Thank
league
you.
at this
But we
point.
only use them for the Lakers. But they're only used for the Lakers. We don't
But
use ifs for everybody else.
Okay, where's Donovan Mitchell?
Where's
Donovan
is
Mitchell,
a
their
question
best
mark.
player?
Absolutely.
It's a weak
But you didn't hear me
That's
say.
an if.
You didn't hear me
That's
say.
an
I
if.
think that Utah Jazz have a great chance if Donovan Mitchell comes back at 100%. I still think the Utah Jazz are good enough and mature enough right now and have created a habit of winning during the course of, wow, go figure, the regular season. I didn't know the regular season didn't matter in terms of getting wins and losses and building momentum towards going into the playoffs. Y'all acting like Utah doing what they've done and starting off being at #1 doesn't matter because we're going to the playoffs now. Y'all need to stop that. Y'all really do. Y'all need to give Utah their much due respect.
In the postseason, in a 7-game series, it is critical that you have a guy, or preferably 2, that can take a guy off the dribble when they know what I'm doing. So even though the defense, because over 7 games, teams know exactly what everybody wants to do. They know a guy's tendencies. They know when he takes 2 dribbles to the right, he's about to pull up for a jumper. They know when he throws a head fake, he's going to do this or that. And you need guys that, even though you know everything I want to do, you can't stop me. That was Donovan Mitchell. But Donovan, I think, will be back, but will he be hampered? Other than Mitchell, who do they have like that? Jordan Clarkson?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes,
all the other guys play off of their system. So I don't look, Utah had a great season. Quinn Snyder did an outstanding job. They will get many regular season awards. But I don't think they can beat the Lakers. Phoenix, look, another great season. Chris Paul, fantastic. Devin Booker, fantastic. Monty Williams should be coach of the year. But I don't believe Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton are going to step into their first playoff series of their careers and beat LeBron James if they meet him, or even if it's the second round, whenever. I don't see them beating the Lakers. Denver doesn't have Jamal Murray.
That's
all right,
true.
so they got issues. And then the Clippers are -5 in clutch time. That's their problem. When he gets down to the final minutes of the game,
you are
what are they
assuming
going
that
to
everybody
do?
for the Lakers, the LA Ifers, are going to be healthy enough to make this team look the way that it is that you're talking. So if all of those things, all those factors
LeBron
given,
or AD is hurt, all bets are off. Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, well, then that's a qualifier.
Remember,
then.
Utah getting the #1 seed gets about a week off of rest, so an extra week for Donovan Mitchell. Chris, you keep diminishing the Utah Jazz. I just want to point out, they're probably going to have the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. They're going to have the Sixth Man of the Year, Clarkson or Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles, hey, give the man some flowers. Joe Ingles is playing well. And there are only 2 50-win teams in the league this year are Phoenix and Utah. So this is a tough West. LeBron's road will be extremely challenging. Phoenix, they got Chris Paul, who might be first-team All-NBA. second round is definitely not going to be an easy one, okay? Don't act like the Denver Nuggets with the MVP of the league, Nikola Jokic, is going to be a pushover. And then, of course, you know, the Utah Jazz are the paperclips in the conference finals. So this is going to be a tough road for LeBron. I have full confidence. I'm personally a little surprised Greg Jennings came in low. I thought we were in lockstep, Greg, on the Lakers dominating the West. But I guess you jumped off the bandwagon. That's fine.
Well, you would have to define what low is. I mean, I'm at an 8.5. You're at a 9.5. You're 1 full point higher than myself. But I want to touch on LeVar again.
Come on, touch. Y'all want to keep touching on me. Go ahead. I'm okay.
I am, because this is what happens when a team hasn't had the type of success that the Utah Jazz have had. They're going to be they are the number 1 seed. And so all of a sudden, the number 1 seed was the goal. It's everything. But when we look at years past and we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, go ask Giannis Antetokounmpo how important that number 1 seed is. It's not important, because if you don't show up in this season, which is a completely different season, you and I both know we've played in professional sports on the football field. The regular season is one thing. All it matters is that you get in the dance. And if you have someone like LeBron James, who has been there time and time again, and knows how to elevate the guys around him, you have the advantage. You have the better chance of coming out on top against a Utah Jazz, against a Phoenix Suns. And then J-Mac, I'm with you. The Lakers are the favorite. But I'm not going to sit here and try to make their road seem oh so great if they get through the Utah Jazz, or if they get through the Denver Nuggets and
you mean if they get through Golden State and get out of the play-in tournament?
I understand that.
Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Is that what you meant? Because y'all looking ahead with your 9s and your 8s. I mean, this team that has to get in, technically, they aren't even in yet. So I'm just saying, y'all sitting there talking all this stuff about the Lakers and what LeBron is and all of the experience and this, that, and the other. Well, you know what? LeBron is the same dude that was moaning and groaning about the play-in scenario. Somebody needs to be fired. You know why he said it? Because he knows that smoke is coming from out of Golden State, and that could put them in a very compromising situation. Y'all talking real loud about this Laker-ifers team, but they may not even make it into the playoffs. They may not even make it out of the play-in, and that's for real. Think about that. We're talking about all these ifs. They might not 9s, 8.5s. I'm going down to a 7, because if they're healthy, like, okay, y'all can ride the Lakers bandwagon because it's a simple and easy way to go through this segment of the show. But me, I'm going to keep it real. If I see somebody showing that they can play and that they can win against all odds, of course they haven't played as well without Donovan Mitchell. Of course they're a better team with Donovan Mitchell with them. And they will have Donovan Mitchell back by all reports given. So there's no reasons to say if. But if I have to continue to say if with every single thing and every single point I make about this Lakers team, I'm sorry. You cannot make a serious, legitimate argument about what the Lakers are going to do if every single one has to be qualified with an if. That's not reality. That's living in a fantasy world of living on the fence. You're on the fence. Yeah. You're not declaring it. Declare it without an if. Say all your arguments without an if, and I'm going to go with y'all on that.
So, LeVar, everybody's healthy on the Lakers. Everybody is healthy. AD, Dennis Schroeder, LeBron. Who's stopping them in the West?
Nobody.
Okay, there you go. So what are you arguing? I don't understand.
What I'm arguing is I don't see them being healthy. I don't see them being able to handle the up-tempo and the aggressive play that is going to take a different level of tempo come the playoffs. That's what I'm looking at. The ifs are, can they stay healthy? LeBron's tweaking his ankle in a late game. Like, this is end of the season game. AD, we don't know if AD is going to be able to hold up. I just don't know where this team is, honestly, 100% health-wise. And unless I knew that and they said we are 100% and I can see it, I don't see why we're saying if. There's no reason to keep saying if.
But you do.
LeVar.
There's no reason to keep saying
LeVar,
you're making the point.
The tempo in the playoffs slows down, first of all. All right, so it won't be as fast
how does it slow
as
down?
the regular season.
You're saying the intensity level?
Every year it gets a little slower in the playoffs. It becomes more of a half-court game than it did in the regular season.
In the league, in the NFL, that tempo goes up.
Secondly, you're counting way more ifs than I am. I don't remember hearing myself, Greg. I don't hear all these ifs that you hear. And then you just ignore the ifs with the other teams. There's plenty of ifs with Utah, too. We just talked about
There's only one
Donovan
if.
Mitchell, yeah, he'll be back.
How healthy will Donovan Mitchell
will he be able
That's
to be?
the only if. That's the only if you heard me. And I didn't even use an if with Donovan Mitchell. He will be back.
You said
how healthy is he? I said
they would be better.
I said they would be better if they had Donovan Mitchell, and they would be. But the bottom line is I'm not basing what they're going to do off of if Donovan Mitchell is back at 100%. I'm saying the Utah Jazz is a legitimate contender out of the West. And to me, I think they're the front runner because they've proven all year they should be looked at as the front runner. I'm not making that up. Look at the statistical categories and where they're at, and they are number one as a team in winning. So to me, I'm not making an if. I'm looking at what their DNA is, and they're winners. They're winning.
Utah Jazz, guys. They won the regular season.
Right.
We should crown the Utah Jazz. Congratulations.
Greg, he seems to have forgotten that the Warriors are so much better without James Wiseman, okay, and Kelly Oubre. The Warriors are going to play small ball, and Utah's going to be in trouble. Do not be surprised, LeVar, if Rudy Gobert comes off the court a lot because he's going to get pick and rolled to death by Steph Curry in that first round. I don't really care about Donovan Mitchell, but if Gobert can't be on the floor, they're in deep trouble against Golden State. Chris, you've covered the league long enough. You know what happens in the playoffs. It's all about matchups. And Utah versus Golden State is not a great matchup for the Jazz.
J-Mac, you don't care about Donovan Mitchell?
No, I mean, they need him, but Donovan Mitchell's he's not the number one guy in that series. He's not the number two. He's the number three. It's Steph Curry, Rudy Gobert, and then Donovan Mitchell in that series.
Rudy Gobert is great, but Donovan Mitchell gives them their offense.
I agree.
And I get it. They move the ball tremendously. They shoot the three very well. But as I said, come playoff time, you're going to need a guy that can break somebody down. Is Bogdanovich doing that? Is Joe Ingles doing that? Is anybody outside
Jordan
of
Clarkson,
Jordan Clarkson doing that? No. Well, okay, but I can't rest my hopes on Jordan Clarkson going one-on-one.
But you're going to rest it on ifs.
I'm sorry.
But y'all going to rest it on ifs.
I think he's my vote for Sixth Man of the Year. No. But no, look, they need Donovan Mitchell to win the West.
No mercy. After signing Blake Bortles to a one-year deal last week, Green Bay added another QB to the room Saturday. The Ben Kurt signing now gives the Packers 4 QBs under contract, including Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. This came one day after head coach Matt LaFleur reiterated his desire for Rodgers to stay, saying, quote, "We want him back in the worst way. I know he knows that and will continue to work at it each and every day." Greg Jennings, former Packer, do you think Rodgers plays for Green Bay this season?
Yes, I do. Let's go down the list of their current quarterback roster, excluding Aaron Rodgers. You got Jordan Love, who didn't see any action last year, barely was even active. Then you signed Blake Bortles, who's been dismissed from almost every team that he's been on, has not been productive, and now you signed Ben Kurt. So like a guy who just was off the street. So you look at that roster, and if you're Matt LaFleur, you're looking like, I can't run my offense. Devontae Adams can't be who we expect him to be with these guys under center. They have to make sure that they get Aaron Rodgers back into the building, period. If they have any chance on being any type of a contender, it's with Aaron Rodgers under center. Everyone knows that. The Green Bay Packers are smart. They're not foolish. Yes, they're trying to plan for the future, but they also want to win. And in order for them to win, they need the guy who wears number 12 under center, point blank. So however they need to sift whatever's going on and smooth it out, they need to do that and address it. When your head coach is saying, I want him back in the worst way, what is he truly saying? I can't provide who I am and what I do for this team offensively without that guy. At this point where we are with our current personnel and the guys we have under center or who's going to be in the building, I can't provide that. we will not be the same team. And everyone knows that, including Aaron Rodgers, which is why I believe he's making them sweat. I don't know what it's going to take to get him in the building, but the Green Bay Packers need to explore every single option.
Yeah, I agree. And LaFleur did make it very clear that he wants to have Aaron Rodgers back. And I'll say this. We still have yet to hear Aaron Rodgers say out of his mouth, and I quote, "I am demanding a trade. I am not going to play for the Green Bay Packers." In fact, he was on my homeboy show. You know, we're from Pittsburgh together. Pat McAfee, shouts out to him. He had two interesting quotes that were taken away from that interview, and I'll just read you a piece of both those quotes. One being, "All I can do is play my best." And I feel like last year I did do that. And I may have thrown a wrench into some timelines that had been thought about or desired, meaning Jordan Love was drafted to replace me possibly after this season. But you know what? I won an MVP award, and we were one game away again from being in the Super Bowl. Okay, the second one. Let's go to the second one. There were some people who made assumptions based on what I said. Nothing's really changed. I meant what I said last year, really being at peace with the whole thing, meaning drafting Jordan Love. Bitter, I'm not bitter. I'm not disappointed or frustrated about things I realize I can't control. Me, and my future is being one of them. Listen, the bottom line with Aaron Rodgers is he has made it very clear he understands the circumstances that he's dealing with in Green Bay. He accepts them, and he obviously knows how to handle them by the way he showed his play this past season. There's no reason to think that he's going anywhere else based off of speculation, Chris Broussard, and I lean on that, and I say he'll be back and he'll play for Green Bay.
I do agree with you guys. Look, the one way that Aaron Rodgers could really blow this thing up is, like you said, LeVar, if he came out publicly and said, look, I want out. I do not want to play another down for the Green Bay Packers. If he did that, because right now the Packers are standing resolute that we're not trading you. So he would have to kind of go nuclear that way to really maybe get them off of their post, and he hasn't done it. And I don't think he will do it. I believe the Packers when they say they're not going to trade him. I think the only way they really even get close to trading him is if he just doesn't show up for training camp and beyond. And they're about to start the season. He's not there. There's no sign of him coming. But I don't see him doing that. I don't see him retiring. Number one, he obviously has tons of football left in him. Number two, he would have to give the Packers $30 million. Look, I know he's got tons of money, but to give somebody back $30 million, that cannot be easy. This reminds me of the Tom Brady situation in New England. We began hearing in 2018 that Tom Brady wanted out, that there was too much distrust between him and Belichick and the team for him to return. And they go on and they win one more Super Bowl and play one more season together. The only difference, I think, is that Rodgers plays just one more season in Green Bay, whereas Brady played two more in New England. So I think after this upcoming season, that's when the Packers will move on from Aaron Rodgers. It'll be much easier for them financially. You know, maybe if they win the Super Bowl, they keep him, but it'll be easier financially. Number two, Devontae Adams came out and went to bat for Aaron Rodgers. Said, look, if he's gone, I may be gone. I'm guessing that those two have even talked. So I don't see Aaron, after Devontae went out there and put his neck on the line for Aaron Rodgers, I don't see Aaron walking away and retiring after Devontae did that. I think they come back. They got one more season together. See how it goes. They're too close. They've been 13-3 the last 2 years. They've got to be thinking, look, we can't leave this. We got to maximize this opportunity and try to get another Super Bowl. And then the other thing, guys, is this. After next season, what is the Deshaun Watson situation like in Houston? Maybe it's worse. Maybe they need to get rid of him. What is the Russell Wilson situation like in Seattle if they don't win the Super Bowl next year? Maybe that situation is just too messed up and he has to go. Could they offer one of those guys for an Aaron Rodgers. So I just think that Rodgers will play for the Packers next year. He'll play well, and then it'll probably be his last year in Green Bay.
So, Chris, the only thing I want to point out that you said, very interesting, you're like, is he going to have to give money back? Remember, Andrew Luck up and retired from the Colts. People thought, oh, he's got to give back $24 million-ish. Jim Irsay, the owner, said, hey, Andrew, thank you for your service. You were great to our organization. We went to the playoffs a bunch. You don't have to pay us back. Would the Packers do something similar to Aaron Rodgers? I know it's not apples to apples, but it is. We don't know. We don't know how the Packers are going to treat Aaron Rodgers.
You're demanding a trade. Why would I help you out?
Of course he's going to demand a trade, Chris. They disrespected him by drafting this kid, Jordan Love, after they just went to the NFC Championship. Aaron Rodgers is well within his right to say, hey, man, I'm going to operate out of the Tom Brady playbook. Tom Brady was not happy they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo. He said, I'll show you. I'm going to deliver. They trade Garoppolo.
And again,
Aaron Rodgers delivers.
Brady
it's
stayed
time
2
to
more
trade
years.
Jordan Love. You've got to give Aaron Rodgers what he wants. Chris, Aaron Rodgers has been tremendous for this franchise the last decade, okay? He's been outstanding. And you go and the GM drafts Jordan Love, trades up to draft Jordan Love. When the coach had no clue what was happening, this was a horrendous move. They need to fix their mistake or give Aaron Rodgers what he wants. And one final note, Greg Jennings, you said the Packers are smart, not foolish. So tell me what on earth the GM was doing drafting Jordan Love, who led college football in interceptions right after you go to the NFC Championship game. That is the definition of foolish.
Oh, well, you make a great point there. When I talk about the Packers being smart, I'm talking about they understand they do want to win. So if they are smart, as I do believe they are, and they have shown us the last however many years, they will find a way to come to a resolution with Aaron Rodgers.
And they are smart, Greg. Look, you made some good points, J-Mac. They shouldn't have drafted Jordan Love. But why in the world would they give Rodgers back $30 million? There's acrimony between these two groups right now. So he's demanding his way out. They don't want to trade him. If he moves, it's because he forced their hand. So why would they do him a favor and give him $30 million? Because he won a Super Bowl 10 years ago? No, I don't think so.
Because he's got them in position to go to the Super Bowl every year. LeVar, you know this. If you get in an argument with your wife
That's not the goal.
And you screw up,
the goal is
you got to give her the flowers. You got to come with a ring, a necklace. You got to do something. You got to man up and deliver because you screwed up. The Packers screwed up here, LeVar. Did they not? They got to make amends.
They did mess up the relationship, but I will say this to both of your points because I think there's a truth in between both of what you guys are saying, which is we don't really know what now, Greg, you may, I don't know, but what is the true essence of this current relationship between Aaron and the Green Bay Packers? And maybe it's more importantly, Aaron and Matt LaFleur or Aaron and the GM, whatever that may be, because that's going to dictate how everything unfolds. LaFleur sounded like a man dejected that just lost his best friend or couldn't find his dog. He's putting up, I can't find him, please help, reward needed to get Aaron Rodgers in whatever good graces that he's trying to get him in and wanting him to be with the Green Bay Packers. I think it starts there, right? The fact that you have a head coach that feels as highly about him as he does, it ultimately puts a lot of pressure on the front office to have to make good on things that they're doing. And I think Aaron Rodgers is aware of that. So there's no reason for him to make it seem as though it's anything else other than I'm just going through the motions of what this is. It's the same as it was last year. I accept what I can handle. I accept the things I can handle, and we're going to move from there. But again, if the relationship is somewhat toxic, more toxic than what maybe we would know behind the scenes, then you're probably right, Chris. But at the end of the day, if it's not, and there still isn't a healthy affinity for him, and he wants to move on in retirement, I'm not so certain that they wouldn't sit there and say, for the sake of not making fans upset or making other people onlooking upset by saying we're taking this money back, they might let him have it.
Yeah, they're not going to let him have the money. That's just not going to happen. You can have the money and then go play for another team. No, what Andrew Luck did was
what if he retired? What if he retired?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I still don't think they're going to let him have it. I just don't. But
you will know better.
when you go back to your first lap, LeVar, you talked about Aaron Rodgers sitting down with Pat McAfee and expressing his feelings. This is where and why I feel like Aaron Rodgers gets it. He understands that, yes, the only way I can combat this situation is to play at a high level, and that is what he's provided. He has seen guys go in and out. He's seen great players leave. He's seen mediocre players leave. He's seen players that he felt that should still remain have to exit based on the Packers and their stance and what they wanted to do moving forward and how they envisioned their roster. That is the problem right now. The Packers have a vision. They have set their board. They have set their chess board up. They understand the moves that they want to make. And Aaron Rodgers made a move on the chessboard that has them at a pause. That if any of us watched the Netflix series Queen Gambit, when she had someone make a move that she was unexpecting, she had to get up, go to the bathroom, and go through her little process.
Straight meltdowns.
That's where the Packers are. Aaron Rodgers made a move with getting the MVP and playing lights out this past season to where the Packers are at a position of where we weren't expecting that. We were hopeful that he was going to play well, but not this well. And so now Aaron Rodgers, again, having the awareness of who he is and what situation that he's dealing with, he understands how to combat it. LeVar, you hit it right on the head. The only way that he combats this is the way that he's going about it, and that's with his play. Aaron Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer, I believe, for this next upcoming season. Beyond that, the Packers have made their decision. They want to move on.
All right, moving on. Dak Prescott said last week that his surgically repaired right ankle feels great, and he feels ready to play a full NFL game. Mike McCarthy echoed that this weekend, saying he believes Dak will fully be cleared for training camp after signing a 4-year, $160 million contract extension this offseason. Expectations are high for Dak and company. LeVar, does Dallas need to make a deep playoff run this year for the season to be a success?
No, I don't believe they have to make a deep playoff run. And listen, there's always the pressure of being a Dallas Cowboy, and I understand that because they're so watched, they're so followed and well-liked, but they don't. I mean, if you look at this roster last year, you'll be blown away by how many Pro Bowlers. If I asked you how many Pro Bowlers that they had last year, how many would you say? Okay. That was the number, because I didn't hear you say any numbers, right? There were no Pro Bowlers for this Dallas Cowboys team. And then now you have Dak coming off of a very, very bad injury, and he's going to have to get back into playing shape, knock the rust off of a long, long time away from the field and competitive football. So when I look at this team, I'm wondering, what is Ezekiel Elliott going to bring to the table? More importantly, what is that offensive front going to do for Ezekiel Elliott and for, obviously, Dak Prescott to have the ability to throw the ball? Now, you go on to the defense side of the ball. Everybody talks about how bad they were on defense, but they addressed their needs through free agency and in the draft. And it looks as though they have a really, really young, gifted, talented group of guys on that defensive side of the ball. So adding Dan Quinn, having guys like George Edwards on that coaching staff, doing quality control and making sure the little things are done on the defensive side of the ball, I think the defense takes a tremendous step forward. So, no, they don't have to go really, really deep into the playoffs, but what they do need to do is show that this is a team that isn't the same team that we've been watching over the course of the last, couple years or so before we can, get to a point of saying that this is a team that has improved. I think they got to show they've improved before we go into how far are they going to go into the playoffs.
For me, they definitely got to go into the playoffs. They got to make the playoffs, and they need to be impressive in the playoffs. And it's not just about the guys on the field. It's about Mike McCarthy, too. He understands how this game is played. He signed a 5-year deal. You better show something, some signs of, I can turn this organization around. Regardless if injury is inflicted upon us, it does not matter the desire of what we expect from you. That's why we hired you as a coach, to be able to move and plug pieces, to be able to get the best out of everyone on this roster. And so when you think about what you just said, the moves that they made this offseason, with Dan Quinn, with addressing the defensive side of the ball, with all these attention to details that they had to address, that tells me that they expect to be a better team. So in order for them to be a better team, they better make the playoffs. When you look at that NFC East, teams have improved. They cannot just stand there and not make the playoffs and then everybody be okay with it in Dallas. That's not how it works. We all go into a season every single year with the expectation of winning. Some a little far-fetched, some with the real reality of it being a potential. The Dallas Cowboys believe that they have a roster, if all healthy, and here's if again, if everyone stays healthy, to where they can have a good season and they can contend for a Super Bowl. That is the game plan. That is never going to not be the game plan. If you talk to Mike McCarthy, I'm sure he's putting up a mural with empty seats or whatever, with champion right alongside the championships that they have won, the Super Bowls that they have won, with an empty one saying, this is where our faces are going to go.
That's an expectation and a standard. That's an expectation and a standard. And that's fine to have an expectation and a standard, but you still have to build to that. You can't skip the steps in the process to get to that trophy case and put another Super Bowl trophy in there.
But LeVar, this wasn't a team that was rebuilding. He didn't come to a team that was starting from the bottom and trying to rebuild. He came to a team that had pieces to where he was going to be the reason why they continued to build on what they had already established. Now, that didn't happen because of injuries. And so now when you walk into this season healthy, you've addressed the defense, you've addressed the coaching side of the defense, the expectation is to win.
That's rebuilding. Period. That's rebuilding. They had to rebuild a side of the ball. They had to rebuild the offense side of the ball. That's why they brought McCarthy in. It is a rebuild. They're not adding on. They haven't been successful enough to say you're adding on. You can't say this is a team that was ready to win. They haven't shown they're ready to win. They haven't beat good teams. It is a rebuild. It is a rebuild.
Look, I guess if a deep playoff run is the NFC title game, then no, I don't think they have to get that far. They do have to win the division. For this to be viewed as a successful season, they need to win the division. Look, I get it that the division has improved. I get it that Washington has a very strong defense. There's no doubt about that. But the Dallas Cowboys have by far, the best quarterback in that division. It's not even close, all right? That says something. When you've got that, and then he's got all types of toys to play with. The receivers are great. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard is a very good tandem in the backfield. I think the offensive line with Lyle Collins and Zach Martin and Tyron Smith being back, they should be much improved. And then on the other side of the ball, their first 6 draft picks were defensive players. They knew that was their weakness. That's what they need to improve on. And I know you love your guy, LeVar, Micah Parsons.
Of course.
I think he's going to be good. He hits like a truck. He's athletic. I think he's going to be good. The defensive back they drafted out of Kentucky, he's got talent.
Yeah.
We'll see, does he have the discipline and all that to maximize it. But, yeah, he does have talent. So maybe he can help a quarterback crew that needed some help. And then Greg said it, Dan Quinn coming in, I think is going to make them much better on the defensive end. Just to the point where they're middle of the pack, top 15 defensively. And if they are top 15 defensively with that offense, they should win that division. And I do think, look, they would be the worst division winner in the NFC. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, maybe Seattle, whoever comes out of that division, San Francisco probably. They're better than Dallas. But if Dallas takes care of business, like they could actually, they need to win the division and win the wild card. Yeah. If they do that, then I think it's been a successful season that you can build on and say next year we're ready.
Chris, this is my favorite part about being in the studio with LeVar, right? So I agree with him a lot, and it's good to be on his side. He couldn't be more wrong here. I mean, listen, I'm not a Dallas Cowboys hater, but we have the Dallas Cowboys schedule that we're going to put on the screen for you. I believe the team here at Undisputed. Look at this joke of a schedule, LeVar. Look at it. How many playoff teams do you see in their first 9 games from last year? Count them up. Go ahead. We'll start with Tampa Bay.
Right.
You see anybody else? LeVar, there is so much pressure. The Chargers are asleep. They have the toughest first-half schedule in the league. They're going to start like 2-6. And I like the Chargers. LeVar, this is set up where McCarthy has so much pressure on his team, okay? Vegas has his team 9.5 over-under wins. They have them winning the division. If McCarthy does not deliver and get to the playoffs and make a deep playoff run, yes, they have to win a game at least in the playoffs. They're expanding the dang season to 17 games. Cowboys have another chance to win another game. LeVar, if McCarthy doesn't get to the playoffs, I don't know if he's coming back next year. They just dumped the defensive coordinator.
Hold on.
You can't keep making all these moves. This is a Dallas team that better make the playoffs. They just gave the quarterback $160 million. He's got 1 playoff win. I'm not even a Dallas believer, but this schedule is a joke.
I didn't say that.
And if McCarthy does not deliver, he's probably out on his keister.
Come on, J-Mac. I did not say they didn't have to make the playoffs. The question said, do they have to make a deep, the key word being deep.
So do they have to make the playoffs?
I think they need to make the playoffs. Of course they need to make the playoffs because they have an elite group of players on their personnel, on their roster. They need to make the playoffs, absolutely. Do they have to make a deep playoff run to justify what type of season they had this year? I do not think so. If they're a wild card team, I'm okay with that. If they make it out of the first round, I'm okay with that. I do not think that they have to make it into the divisional championship round for this to be a successful year.
LeVar, who's good in the NFC? Drew Brees is gone. Other than Tampa Bay, name me a good team. The Rams have holes. They just got a new quarterback. Matt Stafford has 0 playoff wins. No. Seattle's not even going to make the playoffs. Sorry, Broussard. Look at the NFC. Dallas absolutely has to make a run. LeVar, the NFC is so weak this year.
Even with all of that and saying that the NFC is weak, this Dallas Cowboys team has been one of the weakest teams in a weak division, in a weak conference. So to me, I don't look at it as saying by default, by process of elimination, that now all of a sudden we're going to look at Dallas as an elite team. They have not proven to be an elite team for several years now. So if I'm going to look at Dallas and say, what makes this a successful year from what they have accomplished and what we have seen, it is, yes, contend for the division, to be the NFC East champs. Yes, to make it into the playoffs. Can you get out of that first round of the playoffs? That would make it a tremendous success if they made it out of the first round. And if you go from there, that's a bonus, but that does not make the season a disappointing season in terms of where you're trying to go as a team at this moment, because they are coming from a very, very, very far away mark to get to that first round of the to the first round of the playoffs.
Greg, what kind of revisionist history is this? A far away mark.
Give me. When's the last time they were in the playoffs?
3 years ago? You could play Jason Garrett? I mean, Greg, come on. This is a Dallas team that was ready.
2019 that was their last year.
The reason they fired Jason Garrett, right, was because he couldn't get them over the hump. So they bring in McCarthy. They have the best coach in the division. They have the best quarterback, according to everybody here, in the division. How are they not expected to win the division?
He went out with an injury, and then now you have to address the defense, and you don't, with all of those rookies that they're going to have to plug in and build the culture of what that defense is going to look like. You don't know exactly how that's going to turn out. You got to go through the process of seeing what that identity is going to be. So when you brought in Mike McCarthy, you brought in Mike McCarthy to fix the offense. You didn't realize how bad your defense was playing, and now you've addressed that. So now you got to see where they're at. And if that's seeing where they're at gets you to the first, second round of the playoffs, that's a win. That's a win. Not going to the Super Bowl. To assume that they got to make it to the Super Bowl or championship round, I think that's a bit much.
No mercy. One game we all have circled in red Sharpie on the NFL slate, Week 4, when Brady and the Bucs travel to New England to face Belichick and his former team of 20 years, where Brady won 6 Super Bowls. Brady Sr. was happy to provide some bulletin board material, saying, quote, "I started salivating when I saw that we play the Patriots in the 4th game of the season, that we're coming up here to make our record 4-0. Patriots fans would probably agree, since ticket prices for the game, they're reaching astronomical levels. Greg Jennings, how important is this matchup for Brady and Belichick's legacies?
So both of their legacies are cemented, are set. But this puts a little feather in the cap. for the winner, the one who can walk away with bragging rights. We all have been there where we've been on the opposite side of a friend, foe, whatever the case may be. LeVar, in professional sports, playing your team that drafted you, and they didn't believe in you enough to keep you on the roster, and you want nothing more than to get back at them. And they want nothing more than to prevent you from walking away with the win. That's what this is all about. Tom Brady is the ultimate competitor. Bill Belichick is the ultimate competitor. They both want to win in the worst way, but they're both going to say the right things. I love what Tom Brady is doing here. He's letting it be known, yes, this is important. It means something. I saw that, and just like any other competitor, when you have been outed, when you have been counted out, and you have an opportunity to get back, you want all of that get back. You want every piece of that get back. And so for Tom Brady, it doesn't get any better. He won a Super Bowl. He's bringing the band, that same team that won the Super Bowl, up to Gillette, a place where he won so many Super Bowls, to stick it to Bill Belichick and to say, you know what? You made the wrong decision, but I'm still happier where I'm at, and we're still having fun. So I think this is what it's all about. This is why we love revenge games, for moments like this, when you got Tom Brady on one sideline and Bill Belichick on the other, something that we didn't think we would ever see.
Greg, I'm with you in that obviously their legacies are cemented. There's no doubt about that. And each one really will want to win that game. All right? There's no doubt about that. Where I disagree with you on is the bragging rights thing. The bragging rights are forever in Tom Brady's corner. Period. He's won this divorce. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, when he went to Tampa Bay, he went to a 7-9 team when Bill Belichick didn't want him anymore. He goes to a 7-9 team, and in his very first year, leads them to the Super Bowl. In one fell swoop, he proved I can win without Belichick, number one. And number two, for all of Belichick's greatness, I was the main reason why we had that dynasty. It's official now. And so Tom Brady, look, they could go into Foxborough and lose in week 4. But that is not going to shift the balance of power in this debate to Bill Belichick. It's just a regular season game. Brady has the bragging rights. He has nothing left to prove. Heck, Brady could go in there, get beat, and have a horrible season. And we would just say, you know what, he's 44. Father Time finally caught up with him. It's over. And he still would be the winner because of what he did last year without Belichick. Belichick is the one with plenty to prove. As great as he is, and he's arguably the greatest to ever do it, he still got something to prove, and that is I can win without Tom Brady. Because for all Belichick's greatness, you guys know he has not been good without Tom Brady. He's coached 8 seasons in the NFL without Tom Brady at quarterback. He's made the playoffs once. This is the guy many called the GOAT. I've called the GOAT. He's 1 for 8 without Tom Brady. He went to a New England team that had made the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years before he got there. They had a Pro Bowl quarterback in Drew Bledsoe, and he goes 5-13. And then Bledsoe gets hurt. Brady steps in. They go 11-3 the rest of the season, win the Super Bowl, and the rest is history. With Brady, Belichick's won 77% of his games. Without him, he's won 46%. So Belichick is the one whose legacy could, if anything, could be impacted by this game. But look, he's got time on his side. He can coach longer than Brady can play. So if Belichick can somehow get another Super Bowl down the road without Brady, or maybe even 2, I mean, that's asking a lot, but without Brady, then he can get closer to the 50-50 situation of who was more important to the dynasty. But right now, and I think forevermore, the ball is in Brady's court as far as bragging rights. He's won the divorce, period, the end, no matter what happens in week 4.
Yeah, tough to disagree with anything Chris said. Extremely eloquent stuff, Broussard. I will also add, I can't think of anybody's NFL legacy that was ever made won or lost, improved or hindered in week 4, okay? This game is going to be huge for Belichick, as Chris said it. Like, the guy needs to get back to the playoffs. Like, he needs to settle in on a quarterback. You know, it's easy for Tom Brady to circle this game on the calendar. Belichick, I don't think he has it circled because I don't think he knows his quarterback for week 1. So for me, you know, this game is great. It's going to be awesome on the schedule. It's probably going to draw a lot of eyeballs. Probably be the game of the year. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, no. Brady's won this hands down.
You know, the interesting thing is when you look at the quote, and his dad's quote being Tom Brady's dad says he's salivating over week 4 matchup with the Patriots. Who's he? Is it the dad? Is it Tom? Is it both of them? It's kind of cryptic, and I like that here. And listen, you can be salivating over having the opportunity to play against your old team, all right? You could be excited about it. And you're right, you do carry a chip on your shoulder. I remember when we played against the Washington football team, my first year well, my only year without that team in New York, and it meant everything to me to win that game. But I don't generally ever think about it, and maybe it's because I didn't have the type of career Tom Brady had with his former team. But I don't look at this as a legacy builder at all. In fact, when you think about the elements that are involved, Bill Belichick is basically the GM. Bill Belichick he controls the offense, he controls the defense, he controls the special teams. Pretty much all things Patriots, business. Tom Brady's the quarterback. Now, you may be sitting there like, he controls the personnel as well. Yeah, he can give influence. He can give opinions. He can say, this works for me. And they can choose to listen or they can choose not to listen. Bill Belichick has autonomy to do what he wants to do in charge of the Patriots. So when this matchup takes place, this isn't Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. This is Bill Belichick versus Bruce Arians and the front office of Tampa Bay. And we'll see who has the better team on the field that day. So in the end, if Tom Brady happens to have a bad day, if the Patriots happen to have a bad day, it's hard to sit there and say we're going to pinpoint whatever it was that took place in this win or loss for either team and say we're going to trace that to Tom Brady. But you can trace what it is that's going on with the Patriots to Bill Belichick. So it's an uneven playing field. It's an unfair comparison or pitting against. It's like I always hate when people say, oh, they're going to go head-to-head. When we used to play against teams that had great linebackers or 2 quarterbacks or 2 receivers in the same game, they're going head-to-head today. No, they're not. No, they're not. If you're out there and Megatron is out there and Greg Jennings is out there, Greg Jennings is going against the cornerback that's in front of him. You know what? Megatron's going against the corner and the safeties that's in front of him. He's not going against Greg head-to-head. So to me, when I look at this, this is not a head-to-head challenge that makes or breaks a legacy. It's a game that we'll enjoy watching because we know the history between the two of them.
Yeah, I agree with a lot, but I disagree with even more. And Chris, well, I'll start with you, LeVar. When it comes to being head-to-head, it is more of a head-to-head with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And this is the reason why, because you got Cam Newton, that quarterback, who's gonna come up to Bill Belichick and say, we already know what this is. No words need to be spoken. We know how you feel. No words need to be spoken. Tom Brady doesn't have to say anything to his guys in Tampa. Bill Belichick doesn't have to say anything to his team. They know. We all have been there. We know what it means for a player to either be departed or to be outed and then have to face that same team. No word needs to be spoken. It is head-to-head. And when I played against other great receivers, yes, I was competing against their defensive backs, but it was who can outperform who? Who's going to have the better showing? Who's going to walk away with bragging rights?
Disagreeing with that.
Chris,
but that's not head-to-head.
Chris, this is where I'm not. Yes, no, they're not going to line up head-to-head.
That's competing. Everything you just said is based off of competing.
Are we going to talk about the New England Patriots or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or are we going to talk about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? That's what we're going to talk about.
But we're going to talk about that because everybody wants to hear about that. That's not necessarily that's not a head-to-head challenge. It's just what everybody wants to hear about because we know that's going to make it a much more competitive. The stakes are higher, no doubt about that. But to say head-to-head, that's misleading. I'm not going for that. That's what you just stated is competition. Yes, if we played against Ray Lewis or we played against Dan Morgan or any other linebacker that I really enjoyed, I wanted to get more tackles. I wanted to get more stats. I wanted to have sacks and all those different things impact the game and be able to say my play impacted the game. I outplayed Ray Lewis. But at the end of the day, I'm not competing against Ray Lewis. If my guys don't block him on the offensive side of the ball, that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with me. So it's a competitive deal, but it's not a head-to-head deal. That's all I'm saying.
I think we all understand that aspect of it, LeVar. But at the end of the day, you're a linebacker. Ray Lewis is a linebacker. I'm a receiver. Megatron Jerry Rice is a receiver. So the comparisons are going to be made head-to-head in that vein.
Okay.
That's what we're speaking of. These are two guys who won Super Bowls together. One departed and won with a team that Chris is talking about that was 7-9, who brought them back to even life and made them a champion again. That is versus mode. That is straight
it's a versus, but it's not a head-to-head. But I'm with you. I'm with you.
I want to hear Greg. You took issue. Greg took issue with my comments.
I did, as far as bragging rights, because every time you win, there's an opportunity to gain bragging rights. The last thing Bill Belichick wants, and yes, it may mean nothing in terms
versus the Super Bowl.
Listen to my point. Listen to me. It may mean nothing in totality of the regular season, but internally, intrinsically, if we were to go and play head-to-head basketball, and I walked away and we had 10 games on the slate, and one of those games was you and I, as much as we've talked, and I beat you, I still walk away with bragging rights for that moment. I don't care about what happened last year. I don't care about who you beat the game before. I don't care about who you're going to beat afterwards. When you played me, I put in that work and I put you to sleep. Period. Wow. That's what happened.
Okay, break it up, gentlemen. Goodness gracious.
First of all, not happening.
Coming up next.
Quickly.
Oh, all right. Go ahead.
This could be an ugly game for Belichick.
Yes.
Because we know Foxborough, they're going to be cheering for the Patriots, of course, but they're also going to be cheering as much for Tom Brady. And it could be a sign of what could have been. If Belichick had just added the skilled position players a couple years ago that Brady wanted, maybe he'd still be in New England and they still be competing for Super Bowl.
Don't forget how
that's going to be a reminder week 4.
Rob Gronkowski hated playing for Belichick. He retired, comes out of retirement, wins a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. They're laughing all the way. No mercy. Despite drafting Trevor Lawrence with the first overall pick, the main storyline for Jacksonville this offseason has been whether or not they'll sign Tim Tebow as a tight end. When asked to give a Tebow timeline update this weekend, Urban Meyer said, quote, "I've leaned on my staff for that, and I imagine a decision is going to be soon. We'll have a chat on Sunday." Greg Jennings, do you think Tebow would be a positive addition to the new-look Jags?
All right. So I like Tim Tebow as an individual. I really do. I do not, however, like this situation. And for various reasons, but primarily the one that we're talking about it right now. The fact that they drafted the number one over pretty much a consensus number one that was going to be taken by the Jacksonville Jaguar. And now we're talking about a guy who has been out of the league for years. That's already not positive. That's taking away from what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build with a young team and with this guy at Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. And so you bring Tim Tebow in, a guy who, yes, he's won a lot in college. He hasn't won anything in the National Football League. And then you ask him to switch positions. And yes, he may provide some great flair and some flash here and some gadgets here and some opportunities there. But is he going to be effective as far as the growth of your young quarterback and your offense moving forward? And my answer to that would be no. If you're not going to know exactly what you can get out of Tim Tebow and he's a younger player, why would you even entertain that? And so for me, I don't think that this would be a positive takeaway. You might get some spurts. You might get a flash. You might get a great little taste of something here or there, but it won't be constant. I just don't see it happening. I don't even want to go in any further because it's going to seem like I'm bashing Tim, and Tim is a great guy. But as far as a football player, that was in college. And his pro career, it just needs to be left where it was.
If they choose to add him to the team, then he's going to be a positive addition. We don't have to try to qualify it by what he accomplishes. He doesn't have to catch one pass. He doesn't have to dress for one game. He doesn't have to be an all-pro. He doesn't have to be a Pro Bowler. He doesn't have to be a Super Bowl champ or a contributor on the field during game day to be a Super Bowl champ. What he has to do is be the best teammate that he can be and employee that he can be to that Jaguars team. One thing that when I heard this conversation continue to be debated and talked about as to this whole conversation with Tim Tebow, the conclusion I kept coming to is, why would Urban Meyer do this? Why would he put himself in this position? But then I started thinking to myself, would Urban Meyer really sacrifice what's most important to him, which is what, guys? Winning. He's always won. He's not going to put himself in a position to lose. He was at Bowling Green. Y'all know what his record was? 17-6. Can y'all tell me one player that Urban Meyer had on Bowling Green? No, I'll guarantee you, I'll put my house on it. Don't none of y'all know any of the players that Urban Meyer had on that 17-16. You know why? Because nobody cared. But now, Urban has won 17-6 at Bowling Green. Oh, he left, went to Utah. Maybe you thought it was just a fluke. He did even better, 22-2, and had an overall #1 pick in Alex Smith come out of that program. Then he goes to Florida, wins national championships, 65-15. Okay, then he goes to Ohio State. He only went 83-9, and you can name players off of those teams, of course. Bigger programs, bigger spotlight. But one thing remained the same, success. And one thing I know about success at my age right now, today, it is not by accident. It is by design. And Urban Meyer is not going to make a decision that is going to alter his success by design. So I don't look at him being a not positive addition to this team. Whatever addition he's made as this team member, it will fit whatever the design and the process of trying to win that Urban Meyer has done so well and so brilliantly throughout the course of his entire career.
Well, first, let me say this. I don't have a problem with Tebow getting this opportunity. I know that was a topic of discussion at one point, too. I would have actually had more of a problem with it had he gotten an opportunity at quarterback, because we know he cannot play quarterback in the NFL. He wasn't good, 8 years ago? You know he's not going to be good now. So I don't have a problem with him getting a look-see at tight end. Let's see what he can do. But secondly, I'm with Greg Jennings, and I'm glad that Greg has come back to his senses after talking that nonsense about owning me on the basketball court last segment. So, but no, I'm with Greg. Look, I understand Tim Tebow is a great leader. He's a great influence in the locker room. I understand he is a tremendous competitor, and I understand the hope that that would be contagious on a team that's lost 15 straight games. Maybe that spreads throughout the locker room. I understand he's a strong Christian, as is Trevor Lawrence. So maybe they could develop like a big brother, little brother type relationship. I get all that. But I think the negatives still outweigh the potential positives. Because here's the thing. What on the field, I don't see one thing on the field he's going to do. I mean, people talk about tight end. Can he catch? I don't mean catch playing toss. I mean catch a ball that's thrown on fire from Trevor Lawrence. Can he catch in traffic? Can he catch when he knows he's about to get clocked? All right, that's number one. Number two, if they're thinking, about trying to play him like Taysom Hill, I'm sorry. If I'm Trevor Lawrence, the last thing I want, as much as I may like and admire Tim Tebow, the last thing I want is another quarterback coming in every third series and doing some gadgetry. I want to be out there on every series, and I need to be out there on every series. And here's the other thing, guys. What if Trevor Lawrence struggles? which rookies may do. He very well may struggle. What if, he doesn't look good the first few games? They're losing continues.
Nobody hollering for no Tim.
Don't you do that,
Don't you do that on national level. Don't you do that. Skip and Shannon might not bring us back to the show after that. Don't you say that.
They are 1 hour from Gainesville, where Tim Tebow was a hero. You don't think some of those crazy fans might start saying, heck, Trevor's not ready. Let's throw Tebow in for now, just until Trevor gets ready. He showed in Denver he can win games. He's a winner. He's got character. I get it.
That is the longest reach in the history of this show.
Some of these fans are crazy, and they love Tim Tebow in Florida. And I'm just saying, like Greg said, that becomes a potential distraction that I don't need. He's a celebrity.
You gonna help him out?
You don't need your backup quarterback or backup anything to be a celebrity. So
he's not a backup quarterback.
Listen, Chris, I know you went on a good rant there, and you're coming up with these crazy Tebow theories. That was the worst take you've had all show.
Worst
Tim
ever.
Tebow is going to be great for this Jacksonville locker room. Chris, have you looked at that Jacksonville offensive roster and just seen the depth chart and how young this team is? They're going to be maybe the first or second youngest team in the league. A lot of guys who never have won anything in the NFL. As you eloquently remembered, Tim Tebow did win a playoff game with Denver. He had an awesome overtime win over Pittsburgh. Tim Tebow's been a career winner at life.
My point.
And, Greg, you know this. As a third-string tight end, this idea that he's going to be a distraction is total balderdash. Complete nonsense. Maybe he's going to line up on special teams and block.
That's it.
Not be a gadget guy like Taysom Hill, but block on special teams and, oh, yeah, we'll put in one play for a fake to Tebow, or he's a blocker and he throws a pass. He's not going to be a target.
You're right.
He's going to be a leader in the locker room. Chris, you did hit on it. He is a man of faith. He's a believer. They need a winning presence in that locker room, a culture that's been toxic since they were in the AFC title game a few years ago. This is a losing franchise in the dead last market in the NFL with the worst attendance. All Tebow's going to do is help in all aspects. LeVar knows this. Tim Tebow will be a huge addition to that locker room. Urban Meyer needs to be applauded for bringing in Tebow, or the potential for bringing him in. I love the move for Jacksonville.
So if he's not going to play, just bring him on as a consultant. Just bring him on.
Bring him on as a culture guy. Why can't he be a culture guy? You know, Jared Dudley on the Lakers.
You both are talking about a player who is taking an opportunity from somebody else.
How's he taking it from somebody else?
Listen, no. Can I speak?
Yes.
Can I speak?
Yes.
No, because you both are saying even if he doesn't play, well, why are you signing him? Why are you going to bring him on the team if he doesn't contribute in a way that you feel like is going to facilitate? No,
every team. Every team has players that practice that don't play. They're called practice squad guys that get put on the live roster on the roster team.
You're correct. But not every team has a player. Not any other team has a player that's been out of the league for the amount of years that Tim Tebow has been.
You don't know that. You don't know that, Greg. You don't. That's not a fair comment. That's not a fair comment at all.
There's 32 teams in the league, and every team probably carries 3 tight ends. Some, don't even dress the third-string tight end. He's not stealing a job, Greg. We need to do an hour on Tebow
next time. Somebody else's job.
He took my job. Get on the roster.
I can't get a job.
I'll be a great teammate then.
All right, Greg. Thank you for hanging out with us, Greg Jennings. Good stuff.
No mercy.
Despite ending the regular season on a 5-game winning streak, the Lakers will face the Warriors in the play-in tournament on Wednesday. Lakers fans had a brief scare last night when LeBron appeared to tweak his right ankle and was slow to get up. But after the game, LeBron said he'll be fine. And when asked about facing Steph Curry in the playoffs again, he said, quote, "We're playing versus, in my opinion, the MVP of our league this year in Steph. We got to be prepared for everything they have. They have championship DNA." Fox Sports NBA analyst Ric Bucher joins us now. All right, Rick, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in LeBron's Lakers making it out of the West?
I am going to give them a 4 out of 1 through 10.
Welcome to the show, sir. Good.
It would have been a 7 It would have been a 7, but I'm going to deduct 1 point because of the run that Steph Curry and the Warriors are on right now. If there's a team that can believe in itself no matter what happens because of its star, it is the Warriors. They didn't even start well last night, and yet Steph Curry found that magic by the end of the night. And something he said afterward about, when things get difficult, you just have to stay with what you're going to do and run your counters. All those young guys who've never been in this situation before saw how that works, and they are believing. And if this was a 7-game series, then I would say, you know what, nice run, but that's it. But for one night, that can be a powerful thing. 2, the way the Lakers played. They looked sloppy and lethargic up until LeBron James tweaked his ankle. What I saw was a team that had all its guns back and is thinking, okay, we're good now. I mean, we're good. As soon as he went out, that's when the Lakers made their run. That's when they opened up the game because it was familiar and they were like, uh-oh, we don't have the big gun. So now we need to play the way we've been playing, trying to survive for the last few weeks. And then so that's another point deducted. We're now down at 5. And we had LeBron and AD both limp off at some point. And we're not even into the grind of the postseason. My belief that those two are going to be anywhere close to 100% and get out of the West, if you're asking me, and the reason I'm at 4, if you're asking me, am I taking the Lakers or am I taking the field in the West? I'm taking the field.
I was at a 7.5 before LeBron tweaked his ankle last night. Then I said earlier I went down to a 7. So I deducted decimal points, not full points like Ric Bucher. So I think the Lakers should be the favorite. And, yes, I'm assuming LeBron and AD will be able to play. I hear you, Rick, about Golden State. Look, we know Steph can get hot. He can catch fire. And maybe LeBron or AD could retweak some type of injury. So there's a chance there. But even if they lose that game, which I don't think they will, but if they do, they got Memphis or San Antonio. Sure, anything can happen in a one-game playoff. But LeBron has proven in his career to be great in elimination games. Yes, he's lost plenty of series, but in elimination games, he has been great. And I think he would deliver. I think he'll deliver against Golden State. I think he'd deliver against Memphis or whoever the 9th seed is that they end up playing, 9th or 10th. But here's the thing, Rick. Even if
but Chris, we're not talking about just getting through the play-in. We're talking about getting out of the West.
I know. And my point is this. Even if they finish 7th or 8th, I'm not scared if I'm the Lakers of Utah or Phoenix.
There you go.
Just about every team in the West has some problems, has some issues, has some, to use LeVar's word, ifs. Let's go down the line. Utah, what's Donovan Mitchell going to be like? We're talking about LeBron coming off injury. LeBron had a lot more time off and rest than Donovan Mitchell will have on that ankle. So let's see what Mitchell looks like. And you know this, Rick, in the playoffs, in a 7-game series, you need that guy who can break down the defense and score one-on-one when the defense knows exactly what we want to do. Utah, if it's not Mitchell, if he's not able to do it, then they only got Jordan Clarkson in that role. And obviously, you're not banking on Jordan Clarkson, with all due respect to my vote for the 6th Man of the Year. Let's go to Phoenix. There is no way I'm taking DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, as nice a year as they've had. Booker's been fantastic. In their first playoffs, they're going to beat LeBron James and Anthony Davis? I don't think so. And Chris Paul, as great of a year as he's had, we've seen him not lead teams, deep in the playoffs before that were very talented. So Phoenix isn't scaring me. Denver, without Jamal Murray, their second best player is 22 years old. Michael Porter Jr. is terrific, but very young. Again, not taking out LeBron James. And the Clippers, they are bad in clutch moments. They're a negative 5.5 net rating in the clutch. That's the worst of all of the playoff teams, meaning the top 6 teams in each conference. That's the worst of all of them. I do think the Clippers are capable of beating the Lakers. But if I have to bet, I'm going to go with the Lakers because the West is nice, but there's no world beater out there, and everybody's got some question marks.
Yeah, my favorite part about Rick's 4, LeVar, this is great. So I was trying to think of 4.0 out of 10, huh? Are you thinking the Lakers are going to sweep Phoenix in 4 in the first round? Do you know, Rick, the last 9 times LeBron has been healthy and gone to the playoffs, he's gotten to the NBA Finals? Like, picking against the Lakers is very crazy.
Well, then this doesn't apply because he's not healthy.
Well, we don't know that.
He's
he
not
looked healthy running the court yesterday.
No.
How do we? He sat out, missed 26 of 28 games. He's fully healthy. We think, right? That's what the Lakers are saying.
What?
He's played in 2 of the last 3 games.
He walked off the court last night after an inconsequential
He is the bionic
tweak of his
man.
ankle.
Rick,
You
how many
can't tell
times
me
have we
he's
done
healthy.
this with LeBron dating back to the Eastern Conference? Well, man, those 60-win Hawks, they look good. LeBron, LeBron in Miami had to depart for 2 weeks to rest up, and LeBron and let's look out for the Raptors.
We've
heard this so many times. Stop falling for it, Rick. LeBron's 36.
When has he
he's
ever
up there in
missed
age.
this amount of time with an injury before?
He's also
Other than
got
2 years
Anthony
ago
Davis,
in
the #1 defense in the league, Rick. They are as deep a team as LeBron has ever had. That second unit's good. This is a Laker versatile team. Andre Drummond, he may not play 1 minute against the Warriors. That's how versatile he is. And then he'll start against Rudy Gobert, and then maybe he won't play in the next series. The Lakers can interchangeably hang with anybody in the West. They are the Vegas favorites for a reason. LeVar, come on, Lakers 9.5 out of 10 to get out of the West.
6. I'm giving them a 6. And I'm going to stay with my 6. The ifers, the LA ifers. And here's the thing, right? All of these ifs, again, is just riding the fence of saying, if it happens, you know, Chris can sit there. You, J-Mac, can sit there. You know what you guys can say? I told you. I told you it was going to happen. I told you the Lakers were going to do this. This is why I'm Chris Broussard. This is why I'm J-Mac. And this is why everybody respects and loves us for what we do. Because we're so good at it. Well, what you're being good at right now is hedging your bet. You're hedging your bet. If. No, that's only hand grenades and, what is it, horseshoes. Yeah, like almost, a whole almost thing. To me, I look at this.
There's no bigger if than a 6. Maybe a 5, but a 6? You act like that's a definitive statement.
It's a 4.
A 6 is a passing grade, meaning I believe that if those ifs come to pass, that they can win and come out of the West. If it doesn't, then they won't. So for me, putting them at a 6 says that I'm not living in the world of ifs with the Lakers right now. I'm living in the reality world. The reality world says that there are better teams right now that can contend for this Western Conference if the Lakers are not at full strength. I do not anticipate them being at full strength. I just found out today, Slicks, that in the NBA playoffs that the level of competition goes down, the intensity level and the pace goes down in the playoffs.
Intensity up.
I found out something new today that the intensity level goes down.
Pace.
You know, in the NFL, the pace, intensity level, it's all relative. It's all the same. It all goes up. So I'm just saying that's news to me. I've learned from one of the best in the business, so I'll take it at that. And I'll just say.
I said tempo and pace. That's not urgency and intensity. Of course, the intensity goes up. It's a slower game in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
But wouldn't you say, well, if it's a slower game, but the intensity goes up, isn't that intensity still going to impact the way your body reacts when you're out there on the court? Because if it does, then I'm looking at this Lakers, this ifers team, and I'm saying to myself, can they withstand hard-fought battles in these series? I don't see it, and that's why they get a passing grade, because if they were truly healthy, they would be a dominant team in the West. But they're not healthy enough for me to sit there and feel confident that they can just bang their way through all of these series.
Ric Bucher gets the final word. Rick, if the Lakers are not healthy, why were the Clippers ducking them in the final week of the season?
Now we're just going to throw out suppositions and suggestions rather than go by the facts that the Lakers, yes, there's questions about every single team. about every single team, but it's including the Lakers.
They're the
Donovan
biggest
Mitchell,
one.
we don't know if they have whether he can get it done. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, can they be go-to guys in the playoffs? We have the same question with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Can they be the go-to? Can they be healthy enough to be the go-to guys, not just against the Warriors, not just against the Jazz or the Suns, but to get out of the West? And that's as good of a question as we have with any other team. And that's why if you add all these other teams, one of them getting it right, and the Lakers proving that that LeBron and AD are as injured as they suggested they were last night, simple little tweaks, and they got to be limping off the floor. That to me does not fill me full of confidence that they can make it all the way out of the West.
No mercy. Saturday, MLB is back on Fox, headlined by an interleague showdown between the Red Sox and Phillies. Or it's two of the greatest rivalries in baseball, as the Dodgers take on the Giants and the Cubs face the Cardinals. Saturday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Check local listings for the game in your area. With last night's win over Cleveland, the Brooklyn Nets locked up the #2 seed in the East. And after a long 3 months, the Nets had their big three available to play this weekend for the first time since February. KD, Harden, and Kyrie only have played 8 games together this season. But their last game together was before some of the new additions to the team, like Blake Griffin and Mike James. Chris, do you trust KD, Kyrie, and Harden to get the Nets to the finals despite limited games together this year?
I do. And I know, look, this is going against all sorts of conventional wisdom. There's no doubt about it. To think of a team whose 3 best players, 3 stars at that, not even just 3 best players, but 3 best stars to play 8 games in the regular season and get to the finals or win a championship. A first-year coach who's never coached at any other level, and an associate head coach, Mike D'Antoni, whose lack of attention to detail has always bit him in the behind in the playoffs. I mean, I get it. I get why people are skeptical. All right, but if there's any year that this could happen, it's this year. Again, because as we talked about in the last segment, everybody's got some issues. I mean, Philadelphia has had far lesser, but some injury issues with Embiid being out, with Ben Simmons at times being out. Milwaukee obviously has its issues in the playoffs, and they're going to have their hands full in the first round with Miami. And I don't think Milwaukee or Miami has the firepower, if the Nets have all their big 3, to beat them. They can't, in my view. And so I am going with the Nets for a few reasons. Number one, when they've got the big 3, they can get an open look every time down the floor. Because those 3 guys are so good at breaking down the defense that they're going to force you to double them, force you to help, and then that leaves a guy open. And if it's not Harden, Kyrie, or KD, they've got some great shooters around them in Joe Harris, in Landry Shamet. Bruce Brown has shown he can finish. Nick Claxton, obviously DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. Like, they've got guys, the role players are playing well around the stars. Number 2, everybody's talking about the defense, the lack of defense. And I get it, they're not a stalwart defensive team. But they finished the year ranked 22nd in defensive efficiency. That means they picked it up. From April 1st, they were ranked 15th in the league defensively. Mediocre, but with that type of offense, mediocre could be good enough. It's certainly 15th. It's 30 teams in the league. That's the very definition of mediocre. And if they're mediocre on the defensive end and awesome on the first, well, they had to have time to get together, to get to know each other a little bit. But once they did that in April, 15th in the league, mediocre defense, tremendous offense, I think they can get out of the East.
Who have they played over that stretch when that defense suddenly got better? Here's the bottom line. Overall, it comes down to net rating. Over the last 20 years, there's only been 4 teams that have been rated, have had a rating outside of the top 5 that have won a championship. The 2011 Dallas Mavericks, the 2010 Lakers, the 2006 Miami Heat, and the 2001 Lakers again. 2 of those teams were defending champions. They'd already demonstrated that they could play defense at a higher level than they had in that particular season. So ultimately, the Brooklyn Nets are ranked 7th right now. And for all those things you talk about when we get to their offense and their offensive firepower, the fact of the matter is they're going to have to go through some very good, some of the best defensive teams in the league. No, they're not going to have to double team all the time. They don't have any rim protection. They don't have any experience collectively together at the defensive end. And I just don't believe, look, isolation, yes. But we've seen teams that have had great isolation offensive players. The Houston Rockets you mentioned. I mean, Broussard, you gave us like all of the logical reasons why this is not going to happen at the very beginning, and then said, yeah, but you know what? I'm going the other way anyway. What I'm seeing is someone who bet on the Brooklyn Nets at the very beginning of the season and said, this is going to work in spite of everything I know about basketball, and you're not going to let go. But you're not letting go because you made your bet early and you're just going to see it through, as opposed to your head saying, you know what, I really should revise this because it's just not looking right. The development at the defensive end, the no time playing together. I mean, if the Brooklyn Nets do come out of the East, then it will be the complete AAU-ification of the NBA, because it will mean we don't need to play together. We can just get the boys and go and play in a tournament, and we can win because everybody's doing the same thing.
It's not often that I agree with Ric Bucher, but Chris, he just put you in a body bag. He's right. This Nets team, we do not know what to make of them. 8 games together is laughable. And I will add this. If you look at the Vegas odds, the Nets are heavy favorites, but the team to watch is the 76ers. Their path is a cakewalk. I know the Knicks have played well. I'm a Knicks fan. Thibodeau, blah, blah, blah. The 76ers swept them this year, and Embiid missed 2 of the 3 games. The 76ers have a cushy path to the Eastern Conference Finals. Meanwhile, the Nets, who we have no idea how they're going to face adversity, okay? We know Kyrie Irving has been combustible for about the last year. James Harden hasn't really gotten through in the postseason, and now he's kind of the third wheel, but the most important player in an odd spot. And Kevin Durant is probably their best player, and I don't know how he's going to navigate the Kyrie Harden thing. There's just so many questions. Keep an eye on this Miami Heat team. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the Eastern Conference playoffs. He's proven the most for sure. Getting to the finals last year was impressive. I like Steve Nash a lot. I've coached against him at the elementary school basketball level, yes, out here in Los Angeles. I don't know how he's going to handle that locker room. And then going against Spoelstra. LeVar, the most important thing I cannot wait to see is if the Brooklyn Nets are down, say, 2-1 to Miami or Milwaukee, what is going to happen with those Nets? Because you know it is a potential powder keg in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I don't trust that they can get out of the East. And you guys have already stated a lot of the reasons why I think that. I do look at the 76ers as the team that I'm looking at to make it out of the East. And the reason being is that they've shown that they can handle the rigors of this season. You know, the old saying goes, if they show you who they are, we're supposed to what? What is that? Believe them. Oh, okay. So the same discussion points that I'm giving you guys for the LA Ifers is the same argument, discussion points I'll give you for this Brooklyn Nets team, except a tad bit worse. And the reason why it's worse is because these guys don't have the familiarity and continuity of going through an NBA season together. Maybe they know each other from other seasons on other teams, of course. Maybe they've done off-season together and played games, of course. But to say that you've gone through the adversity and the rigors of an NBA season together, they have 8 games in on that. So if that adverse situation hits, if they find themselves getting hit in the mouth in a game and they got to try to find that continuity to be able to get through it, I don't know that they have it. They may. but I'm not confident enough to say that I trust it. They've gone out injured all year long. I trust that. Why? Because that's what I've seen. They've gone out so much where they haven't even played more than 8 games together. But they have proven that they can win without all of them being out there at one time. So there's so many unknowns that circle this Brooklyn Nets team that it's exciting to think about what the possibilities of their accomplishments could be. But to say I trust with everything that has taken place with them to this point with, mind you, a new head coach that doesn't have, well, any experience as a head coach, being the guy that's at the helm, I don't look at saying trust them to do it. That's too strong of a word. I think they're an intriguing team that can do it because of the amount of talent and prolific scorers that they have, and I'll leave it there.
So you're saying they are or they aren't, LeVar? Because
I don't trust them to make. Oh, no, you heard me. I answered the question.
It was a lot of ifs.
I said I answered the question. I do not trust that this team will come out of the Eastern Conference. I do not trust it, but I do think that they are an intriguing team going into the playoffs.
Look, the key is James Harden, and obviously they need Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant and James Harden, if something happened to Kyrie, those two are good enough to lead the Nets out of the East. Wow. If Harden is out, I think they'll get beat by Milwaukee if they face them in the second round, if Harden can't play. Harden is the key. And Rick, when they first came together, I had major doubts. How in the world is this going to work? But James Harden has shown in the brief time that he is an extraordinary point guard. We know he's a great scorer, but he is also an elite-level playmaker. And KD and Kyrie need a playmaker. They need a facilitator. The times that both of them have won championships, they had someone else to facilitate for them. LeBron with Kyrie in Cleveland, and just the Golden State offense, or Draymond Green in Golden State with KD. That's what Harden is. He is the key. He is not the third wheel, J-Mac. He is the most important player on that team. Now, look, again, I get it. It's never happened, but these three are so talented. And, Rick, you're right. I don't know that it's good for the league if the Nets get to the finals or win it all, because it will speak to, my goodness, it'll make the regular season seem completely irrelevant. We may see load management go through the stratosphere. But I do think with most teams doing the same thing, high pick and roll, spread the floor, drive and kick, that it's easier for them to come together and have chemistry back versus 15 years ago where each team or several teams ran different systems and sets.
No mercy. The NBA playoff matchups are set for the play-in tournament, which starts tomorrow. In the West, the Warriors take on the Lakers. Grizzlies host the Spurs. In the East, the Celtics host the Wizards, and the Hornets travel to Indiana to face the Pacers. Then the rest of the bracket starts on Saturday. All right, Chris, give us a bold prediction for the entire NBA playoffs.
Here's a bold prediction. The Brooklyn Nets defy conventional wisdom. They defy all the doubters on this panel and win the NBA championship. James Harden is the finals MVP, redeems himself from playoff failures past, and his legacy skyrockets.
So
How's
bold.
that?
The favorites to win the title. Very bold, Chris.
Yeah, impressive. I'm going to go the exact opposite direction. Neither the Nets nor the Lakers will be in the NBA Finals.
Agreed.
I just look at those two teams, again, when we come to, I hate to get boring with the net rating thing, you got to be top 5. Neither one of them is. They're both on the outside because while they're extremely good at one end of the floor, not so much at the other. Health is a huge factor going into the postseason, and neither one of them has it right now.
I will go with the Miami Heat shock. Giannis and the Bucs in the first round. Giannis will have gone conference finals, out in the second round, now out in the first round. Giannis demands a trade out of Milwaukee in the offseason as a result of the first-round playoff loss?
I say the finals are a battle of the ERSs, the 76ers and the Clippers. And I do believe that the Clippers come out on top and get that little brother championship for the first time in the hidden franchise history.
My backup, by the way, was the Curry and the Warriors take down the Jazz, but, you know, I don't want to hurt all the Utah Jazz fans out there. Chris Broussard, any final thoughts?
Speaking of the Jazz, I'm surprised, LeVar.
Yeah, I wanted the Jazz. I want the Jazz to win, but Donovan is too much of a question mark, and I don't live in it.
He gets a week off to rest up. Come on. So, Rick, who is going to the finals? You told us who
dwell
isn't.
in
Who is?
man.
I will go Bucs Clippers.
Clippers. The paper clips. Get out of here. Colin Cowherd, take it away, baby. Enjoy the show.